Now, with TT Uncovered, you can execute inside the best bid and offer on option strategies by taking advantage of liquidity provided by covered spreads. This synthetic pricing engine delivers optimal execution of option strategies on our award-winning multi-asset TT platform. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to navigate to the new widget. So you click on Widgets, Options, and at the very bottom is TT Uncovered. The widget is divided into two halves. On the left half is the list of synthetic quotes I've already created, and if I select a quote, you can see the right half populates with the configuration parameters of that synthetic quote. I'll now demonstrate how to create a synthetic quote. There's a few shortcuts to doing this. I'll demonstrate both of those ways. If there's a particular put or call that you want to create a synthetic quote for, you can right-click that instrument in the options chain and click Send to Uncovered. The TT Uncovered widget will focus with the option leg parameter set to the option that you selected. I won't go ahead and create that synthetic quote just yet. I want to demonstrate how you can do this with an option strategy. So I'm in the strategy creation widget here. I've already created a option strategy. I'm going to right click on that, and there's also the Send to Uncovered option. If I select that, the TT Uncovered widget refocuses with my option strategy preset in the option leg field. I'll now go through the rest of the parameters in the synthetic quote configuration screen. So at the top is the option leg selector. You can manually enter in your option instrument if you want, if you don't want to use either of the methods I previously demonstrated. Below that field is the future leg. This will be pre-selected with the underlying future leg of the option you selected. Below that is where you set your account. Next up is a set of parameters that define the range of covered spreads that feed into your synthetic quote. We automatically load in the delta of the underlying option you selected. Next is delta range and step size. This defines the range of deltas for the user-defined spreads that feed into the synthetic quote. If I set my delta range to 3 and a delta step size of 1, I'm going to take 3 steps of size 1 both up and down. So we'll start at 17, it'll go 18, 19, 20, also in the other direction, 16, 15, 14. If I'd set my step size to 2, then it'll be stepping in 2, 17, 19, 21, etc., and also going the other way. For the reference price, we automatically load in the last traded price of the future leg, and there's a range and step size parameter for the reference price as well that functions same as for how it does with the delta. Next, we have the pricing strategy field. At market is the default way of calculating synthetic quotes. We're estimating your future allocation, looking at the top of the futures book, and generating a synthetic price based on all that data. If you want to calculate your synthetic quotes relative to a fixed futures price, you can choose the fixed price pricing strategy and then enter in a fixed price that you want to be used in the synthetic quote calculations below that. We have the only trade covered spreads parameter. If this box is checked, then we're going to ignore the listed market liquidity for the option or option strategy and only display synthetic liquidity. If you leave this box unchecked, then we're going to merge the synthetic liquidity with the liquidity from the option or option strategy. Finally, we have the enable RFQ checkbox. If this is checked, then we'll send out RFQs on any user-defined spreads that have wide quotes or a low market activity. If you click save, then the synthetic quote gets added to the list of synthetics on the left-hand side of the widget. All right, now that I've created a synthetic quote, I'll show you how to pull up market data, take you through some of the synthetic order ticket parameters, and execute a couple trades. So the first thing I want to demonstrate is how to pull up synthetic market data. If you click on this button here to the left of the synthetic quote, there will be all the options for how you can pull up widgets to view synthetic market data. I'm going to click on Open MD Trader with legs, and that pulls up 3 instances of MD Trader. The one on the left-hand side is your actual synthetic market data. The one in the middle is just for the underlying option leg, and the one on the right is for the underlying future leg. The first thing I want to point out is that the synthetic market data view has merged in the liquidity from the underlying option contract. So this bid and offer of 400 each at 9 and 10 is merged with our synthetic market data. And what I've done is created some synthetic liquidity for the purposes of this demonstration. That's the 9.47 bid, 1400 quantity. The next part I want to talk about is the order ticket parameters specific to Uncovered. So if I click on this edit button, a flyout appears with all the order ticket parameters specific to Uncovered. The first 2 parameters, max show and max sweep, are a way of executing something similar to an iceberg order. So the way that max show works is when you're posting synthetic liquidity, you can specify the maximum size you want to post before moving on to the next slice of your order. So if I only want to show 100 at a time, I would enter 100 into this field. When that 100 lots that you've posted has executed and you've fully traded away the futures allocation, it'll then work on the next slice of 100. If you'd like that functionality to come into play when you're taking synthetic liquidity, that's where the max sweep parameter comes into effect. So it works very similar to max show. You would just take synthetic liquidity up to the quantity you specify in this field. If you leave them blank, then they don't take effect. Hedge order TIF allows you to specify the TIF of your hedging order. Hedge pay upticks allows you to price your hedging futures orders more aggressively into the market. This can reduce legging risk if it's a fast futures market, but if you do end up executing at that more aggressive price, that will take you outside of your synthetic limit price. Trade away futures leg is checked by default, and this means that the application will trade away any futures allocations you receive while trading synthetic liquidity. If you want to hang on to your futures position and not trade it away, you would uncheck this box before submitting your order. You can also set a start time and end time for your order, and that's all the parameters specific to Uncovered. I'll now execute a trade against some synthetic liquidity. So there's this 9.47 bid that I've set up for myself, and I'll sell 100 contracts against the synthetic level. So I've just submitted my order. I'm now going to drag my orders and fills widget into the center of my screen. If I click on this eye icon here, I can get the details of the leg executions for my Uncovered order. So we can see that we traded 100 of the overall synthetic instrument. This resulted in an allocation of 14 futures that the application has received and then fully hedged away. My synthetic limit price is displayed in the orders widget, as well as the rest of my synthetic parameters. There's two new columns that we've added here that are specific to managing your futures allocation in the instance where you have received a futures allocation and were unable to hedge it away due to the futures market moving from under you. If that's the case, you would see the number of futures that you haven't traded away populate in the unhedged quantity column. If you want to immediately reprice the hedging future order to the inside futures market, there's a button in the reprice hedge order column that you can click to perform this action. Interested in learning more about TT Uncovered or the TT platform? Contact us today to schedule your free demo.